My name is Coach Mary Beth, and my students call me Coach MB, and today we're going to be learning how to do a camel spin. So first, I'm going to show you what a camel looks like. So that's what a camel spin looks like, and if you're first learning it, I want you to make sure you do a regular checkout position. I did not do it right there because I didn't want to push out of the frame, but yes, when I come up from a camel, you want to stand up, and you want to make sure you push straight back and have a nice landing position. But anyway, so you saw how my camel was in this position. So what defines a camel is the free knee is above that hip, right? So you're going to be in your camel position here. So your skating hip would be the hip on the ice, and then your free hip is the one with your leg off the ice. So your free knee has to be above your free hip, right? So even if you're doing a camel in your leg, so it isn't defined by 90 degrees, because even if your leg is in this position, if a lot of skaters will sometimes do this, where their hips get up and they're like this, and their foot and their leg are still down. So we don't want that either. So I'm going to show us some exercises that are going to help get us into the camel and build up the camel, and hopefully help you do your camel spin, because while it's one of my favorite spins and one of my favorite spins to teach, the amount of years spent practicing the spin is so many. So you do have to put the time, the work, and the patience into perfecting the spin, but hopefully what I'm going to show you here today will definitely help you in that process. So like I said, start your spin standstill, mainly because it's harder. So if you can handle it from a standstill, when you add a wind up or inside three turn to step into it, it's just going to be way easier, and you're going to have so much more control of your spin. So I like to start when you're doing the standstill position, make sure they bend your knees, and you'll tell right away when you're doing this that when you bend, I'm bending and loading right here, that I'm not bending like this or sinking my back, I'm in my hips here. And I describe it as baby camel and full camel. So baby camel, I say, is like this, and then full camel is when we stand up on a leg. A lot of times skaters will do, they'll push into it and they'll just try and immediately hit the position, and then they'll fly out of it. Or they'll try and turn their head to get it to spin, also wrong. And no, there's a lot other variety of errors, but every single one of those errors stems from that bending and then straightening your skating leg, which is what makes the camel happen. So when we go into, you want to focus on baby camel, then rise in your knee, full camel. So you're here, you're going to go baby camel, full camel, and then up, right? And then I would just start with one revolution, trying to get 1 to 2 good revolutions in the camel. Make sure you finish the spin and then stand up and check out. Every time you finish a spin and not just drop your foot down, I have a big pet peeve with that, because every time you do that, you are just reinforcing, 1, a bad habit, and 2, you're giving up on an extra rep. So it's almost like you're getting 2 repetitions in per that spin, because you're building the strength out of it as well. So you're not just waiting for the good ones to do a good checkout. That's not good reinforcement. You want to always try and find a way out of the spin. So I'm here. We're going to do that again. We're going to bend. I'm going to do baby camel, full camel, stand up, and then check out. Awesome. So obviously, if it was that easy, everyone would have great camel spins, but that's the first way I like to describe it, right? Baby camel, full camel. Now, the best exercise I was ever taught by my coaches is this really, it's just this balancing posture for camel. So you're going to basically kind of go like this. So I'm going to fold into my hip. I'm going to crease so that my stomach is in my hip bone, creating this power angle that I can almost fit a credit card in this crease right here. So I'm going to lean over into this position, and I'm going to have my boots not going to be on the ice, but just a little bit of my blade is going to be on the ice. My ankle is going to be lifted. So I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be right here. And then I'm going to only stand up from this leg. And you're going to try and hold that position. So I'm going to do this here. And it looks easy. It's not easy. It's very hard. Even there, I felt like I could have picked this hip up over my skating hip. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to be here. I'm going to lift my hip up over the hip. And that was a little better, but still could be better. So I'm going to be here. And then I'm going to lift up over, and try and hold it as long as you can. And then go from there. It looks easy. It's not easy. It's hard. It takes lots of practice, but it really helps you balance on the right part of the blade and adjust your hips correctly. The other thing about camel is it is like your hips are stacked on top of one another. So you're going to have your skating hip, like I said, and then your free hip. Your free hip has to be stacked on top of this hip, stacked and a little open. So it's going to make like almost like a T position. So here, and then, or like an L position, I guess, open like that. And then you're going to be here. So a lot of other mistakes happen when skaters get their hips too like square like this, or, you know, yeah, they go in very square and then they're trying to lift from here. And then they're just like using their back, or they can't get their hands up, right? But it mostly stems because they just are like lifting from here and they're like this. Or they're pushing with their head a lot. So you want to just break it down and do what makes a camel. And that is this leg bending and then rising in the spin. And then from there, you are able to get that really nice, pretty position. So that just takes a lot of practice and a lot of consistent practice of good repetition. You don't want to do a lot of the wrong ones and then try just on one and then make the correction and then think that's going to work. You have to consistently make changes so that you get a lot of the good repetitions. So I'm going to do another camel again. So we're going to be here. We're bend. I'm going to do everything we just learned. So bend and then push and then stand up and come out and then check out. Now, the other thing is a lot of times skaters, they'll like step with the wrong arms in front, or they won't use their arms correctly. Now you do need to use your arms in spins, but you can't overpower the spin, right? So I am using my left arm here. I'm leading and then I'm pulling back as I enter that spin, right? That is how the arms are helping me, but I'm not doing this. I'm like trying to get my spin around and I'm just balancing the momentum. You know, I'm using it to guide me and then engage. So, and the other thing is your right side is going to be really strong and really checked back, right? You're not going to let it whip in front and get around you. You don't want to, because that's how the spin's going to get away from you. So we're going to try that again. I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blade back, make sure I'm in a good checked position, push, and then stand up. Yeah. And then check out. So a lot of times there'll be sometimes coaches think that, you know, holding the arms behind the back helps, and sometimes it does help with skaters. So that would look something like this. So they're going to be here, and then they're going to grab their hands and pull back like this. That's if it works for you and you're teaching and everything, that's great. I try to always teach this way so they don't get used to only doing the position well when they're holding their hands behind the back. You need to be able to engage your muscles correctly, not by using your fingers or your tool to force you to engage it. You need to be able to squeeze your back correctly without like forcing yourself into different positions. But if it does work and, you know, it really helps you get the position, that's great. Another thing is sometimes that does really help, especially if you're competing. Sometimes doing this, and if you're going for like a camel side, doing this and then changing position really shows the change of movement. So that's another reason to do that. But I would say if you can, try and do that classic position. And if nothing else is working and you really want to try this and you think that's going to help, there's nothing wrong with that. That is also another great option. So let's go through some of the things we've worked on so far. So remember, always start from standstill and practice that baby camel to fold camel and try and get one good revolution, 1 to 2, and then come out of it. So I'll be here, push, get 1, 2 revolutions, stand up and out. Then like I said, we're going to do that exercise where we bend over here and then stand up and then come down. Trust me, if you can do that exercise, you'll be able to do a camel. It is so hard, and it works it will translate, I promise. And then if you want some more practice or you want to just be able to do everything, you can do the camel with the arms behind your back like this. Here, and that helps with the position as well. And then that is pretty much how you practice camel and do a lot of good repetition with it and practice the stages of the camel. And just remember, it all stems from your spinning leg, that you have to bend first, then stand up as you do the spin. So I hope this helps your camels, and please let me know if you would like any more advice on camels or any other skating things, and I would love to make a video about it. Bye.